Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Takumi. We believe Japan should contribute more actively to the United Nations peacekeeping operation by relaxing its restrictions for the self-defense forces. Plan. We will follow UN if requested, but basically we will send 3,000 troops to places where peacekeepers are lacking, such as Ukraine or Somalia. 81. Protect civilians. Present situation. Even after ceasefire, many civilians are being killed. According to UN, more than 1,300 civilians were killed in Ukraine after the ceasefire in 2013. Victims are mainly women and children. According to UN Under-Secretary General, 450 children are being killed every day. But JSDF cannot protect civilians because of the restriction of PKO law. For example, SDF couldn't protect Japanese civilians in Cambodia just because of this law. As a result, 2 Japanese were killed in 1993. Also, according to Sankei newspaper in 2013, Japan refused the request to protect refugees in Juba because of PKO law. After this military crash, more than 50,000 civilians were killed. In fact, after plan, JSDF can engage in rash guard and protect civilians. Please look at this chart. According to the research by Florida State University, in the places with no peacekeepers, 100 civilians were killed on average. But with 3,000 peacekeepers, we can decrease the number to 20 and save 80 civilians per month. That means if Japan sent peacekeepers to the places such as Ukraine, 3,000 troops can save about 1,000 civilians' lives every year. Importance. PKO restrictions are killing many civilians by forcing SDF to refuse a request for protection. In Juba in 2013, armed group killed patients in bed, raped women in groups, and fired machine gun to refugees who were begging for their life. FA says, in the world, 12 million people are now asking for help. The Constitution of Japan declares, no nation is responsible to itself alone. Laws of political morality are universal. This means saving other countries is also an important obligation and responsibility of Japan, so we should fulfill this responsibility. 82. Build more infrastructure. Present situation in South Sudan, 75% of civilians cannot access medical care and 45% cannot access safe water. This is all because infrastructure was destroyed in conflict. UN is strongly demanding SDF to build infrastructure in such areas. But now, SDF cannot engage in many missions of building infrastructure because of PKO law. For example, SDF had to refuse the request from the UN to maintain infrastructure in Malacca. Also, in Golan Heights, SDF had to withdraw from the mission of building infrastructure in 2013. Now, Japan's PKO is limited only in Juba, a completely safe city. A journal African argument says Japan needs to use deadly force. Effect. After plan, we can expand the areas of building infrastructure such as roads to places such as Malacca. According to the UN Assistant Secretary General for PKO said, quote, Japan saved tens of thousands of lives. No other country has the same ability as Japan. No country could succeed to the mission of Japan, unquote. Also, UN PKO section said in 2013, as for building or maintaining infrastructure, Japan has a #1 standard of skills and technology. So we can say Japan can help for a greater number of people suffering in conflicts. Importance. Laws are the most important lifeline. Without laws, relief supply, such as water and food, will never reach. In South Sudan, 37,000 people cannot access clean water and 3.2 million people need humanitarian aid. Also in Ukraine, 200,000 people live in areas with no water supply. According to UN, Japan saved tens of thousands of people's lives in PKO mission in Haiti, so by 2,000 troops building infrastructure. So, Japan has the ability to save more than tens of thousands of lives and give society the chance to rebuild. So we should take this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. We will now have a 1-minute preparation time. Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and Judge. My name is Jenna. And first, on your first point, Ukraine and Somalia will be new mission. Is it right?
Yes.
And how many personnel is necessary?
Not how many, but actually there are no peacekeepers.
Oh, okay. Please show me the evidence.
Okay.
Later. And thank you. And how many people Japan can save after the plan?
So as our plan, so we will send 3,000 troops.
What is the necessity of Japan?
So, in importance, we said Constitution of Japan declares. It said so. Japan has
I think other country can do that.
But as we want to say that, as for Japan, we have to save other countries' citizens as well as own citizens.
Okay, thank you. And on your second point, you talk about the building infrastructure.
Yes.
And you mainly focus on road. Is it right?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And do you mean that Japan have enough budget to improve road? Is it right?
Yes, we think so.
Do you have evidence about that?
No budget.
Oh.
Yes, but actually.
Okay, thank you. And how much infrastructure Japan can improve after the plan?
We cannot show you the clear, but actually we demanded as the UN to build infrastructure in Malacca.
Oh, okay. But how many JSDF will make infrastructure after the plan?
If UN requested, we will send that number.
Okay, thank you. And do you mean that Japan can make infrastructure in dangerous area?
Yes.
Well, I think all of them will be destroyed by armed groups. So what do you think about this point?
We didn't think so. Actually, in the past, there are no case in the PKO mission building infrastructure is stopped or infrastructure was destroyed.
But why Japan is necessary for improving infrastructure?
As we said, actually, according to the Assistant Secretary General, the Japanese building infrastructure technology is a very number one standard
what kind
in
of
the world.
technology?
Building infrastructures.
But is it applied to the dangerous area?
Oh.
Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Question time has ended. Please say your name and thought.
Yes. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Saki. With negative side, strongly believe that we should not carry out their plan. Disadvantage 1. More victims and the self-defense force. More victims and the self-defense force. Present situation. PKOs are dangerous jobs. According to United Nations in 2015, more than 3,300 peacekeepers have been killed. However, Japan does not need to send more peacekeepers because Japan already contributed to PKO financially. Japan pays about 0.9 billion US dollars every year. This is the second largest financial contribution. In addition, Japan pays about 4.5 billion US dollars as voluntary contribution every year. This is the number one largest voluntary contribution. Therefore, Japanese contribution is highly evaluated. According to BBC in 2012, even if Japan does not have a military contribution, Japan's influence on the world is ranked most positively by other countries. In fact, by their plan, Japan will join PKO in the same way as other countries. The risk of death will also be the same. According to Asahi newspaper in 2015, if Japan relaxes its restriction on using weapons, the risk of involvement in combat will be high. According to United Nations in 2015, in total, the United Nations sent about 1 million peacekeepers, and about 3,300 were killed. So statistically, 0.3% of the peacekeepers will die, or about 10 will die. In the same way, the increased risk of combat means that many peacekeepers will be injured. According to the United Nations in 2015, about 41% of peacekeepers were injured in 1 year. It means about 1,200 will be injured. Seriousness. 0.3% is extremely high compared with the risk of other jobs and soldiers during war. For example, the death rate of firefighter is 0.0007%. The death rate of American soldiers in the Persian Gulf War was 0.03%. Therefore, 0.3% is too high. By the plan, in total, 10 peacekeepers will die and 1,200 will be injured every year. In addition, it will affect their families, such as mental, economic, and physical burdens, so their plan will widely damage Japanese citizens. Disadvantage 2. The attacks by mistake. Present situation. On the battlefield, armed groups do not wear military uniforms. Peacekeepers cannot judge the difference between armed groups and civilians. Opponents even pretend to be civilians. In these complicated situations, peacekeepers often attack civilians mistakenly. According to Al Jazeera America in 2015, in Central African Republic, peacekeepers killed 30 civilians and more than 100 were injured. According to Reuters in 2014, peacekeepers killed 7 civilians in Darfur. However, the Japanese policy is good because Japan denies the military solution. Japan has never made such a mistaken killing. In fact, However, by their plan, Japan will experience confusing battlefield situations like other countries. According to Isataki Kenji, the professor of Tokyo University of Foreign Studies in 2015, in confusing situations, SDF would definitely have the same mistaken military attacks. Japan cannot avoid killing many innocent civilians mistakenly. Seriousness. Peacekeepers' mistaken attacks lead to more violence as local people take revenge. According to Doi Kanai, who is a researcher of International NGO Human Rights Watch in 2010, peacekeepers in Congo mistakenly killed 81 Rwandan civilians. Then Rwandan civilians took revenge and killed more than 630 Congo civilians. That's why we cannot accept any mistaken killing of innocent civilians. Even one case should not be allowed because it is just murder. For these reasons, we should not carry out their plan. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, speaker. We will now have a 1 minute preparation time. Are you ready? Please say your name and start.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Takuya Baba. I have some questions. To your DA1, firstly, so how many self-defense forces will die by taking this plan?
Okay, so as I said, statistically 0.3% of the peacekeepers will die, or about 10 will die.
Okay, so please show me that calculation and evidence in the preparation time. Second question.
Okay.
So you talked about 1,200 will be injured, but what's the definition of being injured? Like being cut it a little or like so on?
Because the cause of the injured is about involved in
No.
combat.
I'm asking what's the definition of injured?
So injured means that they, for example,
So what's
they
that
lose
calculation
their legs
include?
or that.
Yeah, it might include, but what's the definition of the minimum amount, minimum border of injured?
So
sorry, please show me the evidence.
Sorry.
Nextly, to your DA2, so you talked about like in case of Rwanda, 630 were killed, right?
Yes, because
So
of the
is it
revenge attack.
so is it the worst case? Like as an example, is it one of the worst case or is it like normal thing?
No. Yeah, it is that
So
normal case because that mistaken attack leads to the revenge feeling of innocent civilians.
So how will be the worst case? How many will die in the worst case?
So for example, in Congo's case, 630 Congo innocent civilians.
Yeah, it's that data you wrote. You said in the constructive speech. So how will be the worst case? You said it's normal case, but how's about the worst case? I want to ask you the number.
In the
of that.
past.
In the past, yes, of course.
I have another evidence of the like in Haiti.
So would you answer the number?
Sorry.
You seem like you have evidence, so please show me that.
Okay.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you very much.
Question time has ended. We will now have a 2 minute preparation time. Are you ready?
Yes.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Ken. Today I have 8 attacks. As for their plan, first, they said we will send troops to Ukraine. However, that's impossible. According to Kyiv Post in 2015, Russia is preventing the deployment of peacekeepers in Ukraine. In fact, without the mutual agreement, we cannot send peacekeepers, so their plan will not stand. And for Somalia, however, it doesn't make any sense. According to the United Nations in 2015, the mission in Somalia has started with 30,000 troops. They said they will send troops where we lack personnel, but they're not sure that which mission we can send, so their process will not stand. Next, they said we need more peacekeepers. However, even if this is true, we don't need this plan. According to Mainichi newspaper in 2015, 50 countries agreed to send additional 40,000 peacekeepers for the World PKO. This includes not only today's operations, but also future operations, so this plan is not necessary. Next, they said we need peacekeepers to do some. However, according to Mainichi newspaper in 2015, the 40,000 troops will come from China, India, and so on, which have more powerful military level than Japan. So even if their process is true, 40,000 can do even better than Japanese troops, so this plan is not necessary. Next, they said if we send the self-defense forces, we can save about 80 civilians in a month. However, that's not true. We checked their evidence, and we have the same evidence. According to this evidence, if there are already 8,000 peacekeepers in the area, we cannot expect to decrease the death anymore. Actually, their plan is vague that where we can send. And actually, in the most major missions in the peacekeeping operations, there are already more than 8,000 troops, so their process will not stand. Next to the advantage too. They said self-defense forces can promote infrastructure, but that is not true because there's no money for more infrastructure. According to the United Nations in 2014, the UN budget for infrastructure is already short of money. $5 million or more money was lacking for infrastructure in 2014. So even if they want to promote the infrastructure, it is impossible. Even the ODA support for the infrastructure is not enough. According to Africa Business Network in 2014, in order to improve infrastructure in, for example, Africa, $93 billion are necessary each year, but the annual ODA budget for infrastructure is $45 billion, only $45 billion. So it is impossible to expand the infrastructure only by taking this plan. Next, I will talk about their process. Like they said, SDF will build infrastructure in dangerous areas, but in their present situation, they said in the dangerous areas, infrastructure will be destroyed, so we cannot understand the advantage we can get from this plan. And next, they said self-defense forces have the techniques and infrastructure. However, they don't have the evidence that they can work in the dangerous areas. And in their process, they're talking about infrastructure and dangerous areas, but they didn't prove that we can work in the dangerous areas. And actually, in dangerous areas, as they said in their process, in their present situation, the infrastructure will be destroyed. And also, they don't have any clear number that how many will be saved only by sending 3,000 troops or like the vague number because they said the UN will decide. So it's totally unclear that what will happen if we take this plan only just by sending 3,000 troops or that troops. So for this reason, we should not take this plan. Thank you.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Tomoe Tanaka. I have some questions. Okay, about your first attack point.
Yes.
We can't make new mission in Ukraine because Russia didn't agree, right?
Yeah.
Okay, about Somalia, there is already new missions, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
30,000 troops already sent, so your plan will not stand.
Okay, thank you. Your second attack point. So 50 countries already prepared 40,000 new peacekeepers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, about your third attack point. So this 40,000 is better than Japanese self-defense force, right?
Yeah, it includes the military that have more strength in the self-defense forces.
Please show me evidence later.
Okay.
Okay, about thank you. About your fourth attack point. So, if we send 3,000 peacekeepers to the area, which have enough peacekeepers, we can save no more civilians.
Yeah, no
right?
more.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. About your first attack point to AD2. So, because of financial difficulty, we can't make infrastructure.
We cannot expand the plan because it's just lacking even in the present situation.
Okay, thank you. About your second attack point. So, infrastructure will be destroyed because of conflict, right?
Yeah, actually, in your present situation, you said like in conflict, the infrastructure is destroyed, so we cannot understand what will happen after the plan.
Okay.
It will be
Do you
destroyed.
have any evidence that during peacekeeping operation, infrastructure was destroyed?
Actually, it's not during, but even if you make it like
not during peacekeeping operation, right?
I don't clear because it's
Thank
just
you.
in your
Your
present
third attack
situation.
point. In dangerous area, we can't make self-defense force don't have ability to make building to build infrastructure, right?
Actually, you didn't prove that in danger. You're talking about sending troops to the dangerous areas, but you never proved that in the dangerous areas, infrastructure will be constructed by the self-defense forces. So I want you to prove that point.
Okay, thank you. About last attack point. So this attack point is unclear, right?
Yeah, because for example, like your new mission does not exist, and also you didn't give any critical number that how many will be saved, but just constructing roads in vague areas. We don't know where it is.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Question time has ended. Please say your name and start.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. My name is Hirokazu. I have an attack on you. First about the DA1 strategy SDS rise. But first of all, low possibility about SDF states. They said SDS members will lose their rights, but the possibility is very low because of following reasons. A, according to Walter Down's calculation, the consultant of UN Department of PKO, the mortality rate of the peacekeepers through the PKO is decreasing every year, and the present rate is 0.08% according to our calculation from UN peacekeeping. So the possibility is already low, and it will continue to decrease. And B, according to UN, about 70% of deaths is caused by accident and illness, but but SDF has medical relief team, which has high technology and skills of medical treatment. Moreover, because no SDF member has lost their life through these reasons in the past PKO, we can say SDF has enough cure system. So calculating from these 2 points, mortality rate of SDF member will be only 0.024%, which is only 1 death per every 2 years. So their point doesn't stand. Second, less importance. According to research by Change Our World, 64% SDF answered they are willing to save civilians abroad at the risk of their life. In addition to that, according to Gentai Business, selection PK member from Japan is adopting a volunteer system, and the member who finally goes have to pass the test. This means 2 things. A, they have enough ability to save people. In fact, according to Mr. Tamagami, the troops that adopt volunteer system is stronger than one that adopt the conscription system. So the possibility of death in war will be much lower. And B, they have clear will that they want to save civilians, and moreover, they have consented to the risk of death or mental disease. So even if the point completely stands, there will be less importance because FDS is strong enough, and moreover, they have strong will to save civilians, even though they have risk of death confirming the number of lives that they can save. So their point is not so important. So their point, okay, let me attack to the second argument, miss shot. First, not important. They said we shouldn't take this plan because someone will be killed by mistaken shot. But as our first speaker told you, if we send 3,000 troops, we can save 1,000 civilians, and this graph comes from past example. And of course, this is concluding the death of miss shot. That means even if some troops cause misshot, still we can save many civilians' lives. So their point cannot be the reason to oppose this plan. Second, not true. They said about misshot, but it is not true. Actually, SDF attacked only who attacked to PKO, and soldiers acted in a legitimate defense according to someone. So their point doesn't stand. And third, irrelevant. They are saying that because someone PKO kills citizens mistakenly to send troops is bad, but this point is opposing PKO activity in itself, and according to the definition of this debate, we cannot deny PKO activity in itself, so their point is too irrelevant to take, so their point doesn't stand. And fourth, about Congo's evidence, no applicability. They are using evidence of Congo, but this evidence is talking about Congo armies, not peacekeeper, and this evidence says Congo armies is very terrible because they made any effort to distinguish civilian terrorists. So this is too extreme to apply, and their point doesn't stand.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eddie. I'd like to ask you some questions. In total, how many attack points do you have?
2 for your DA1 and 4 for your DA2.
Okay, thank you. On your first attack point, you talked about the 0.08%.
Yes.
Is it the decreasing number or the after the plan's death rate of the JSDF?
The present situation, the death number is decreasing, and the present rate is 0.08%.
Present rate is 0.08%.
Yes.
And you talked about 0.024%, right?
Yeah.
Is it if we if we don't include the accident or illness, the death rate will be 0.024%, right?
Yes.
Okay. On your second attack point, you talked about the JSDF admit the risk, right?
Yes.
And is it the after the plan agreement to the after the plan or agreement on present situation?
In the present situation, they are saying that 64% of SDF saying that.
Present situation, right?
Yes.
Okay. On your first attack point, you said the Eddie will overcome the mistaken attack, right?
Yes.
However, do you think that lives is a pressure, right? But mistaken attacks is okay?
No, but by taking this plan, even if some mistake will occur, we can save many more civilians' lives.
Okay. Sorry, I'd like to back to our dear one. And you talked about the JSDF is strong enough, right?
Yes.
Why can you say so?
Because as I told you that Mr. Tamagami said, the troops that adopt volunteer system is stronger than one that adopt conscription system.
Okay. Only sorry, time is over. Thank you.
Question time has ended. We will now have a 2-minute preparation time.
Please say your name and start.
Thank you, Chairperson and judges. My name is Tomoyuki Tanaka, our defense argument. The first point. They say Ukraine we can't make a new mission because Russia didn't agree. But after their evidence, President of Russia indicates the will of accepting new mission in Ukraine. So this is no problem. And also, this is Ukraine is only one example. The place which has severe shortage of peacekeepers. The second attack point. They say 40,000 new peacekeepers will be needed. But according to CIC, in only Africa, at least 45,000 peacekeepers will be needed in 2070. And also, same evidence say in Africa, in the worst case, over 100,000 peacekeepers will be needed in 2070. This means there are so many places which need peacekeepers in the future. So in this place, we can save 3,000 service forces, and we can save 1,000 civilian lives every year. So we should take this plan. Their third attack point. They say this 40,000 is better than Japan. But firstly, according to CIGS, there are no problem about self-defense force in terms of their ability and their weapon to execute missions. So actually, if we send 3,000 self-defense force, we can save so many civilians. Their fourth attack point. So, like we explained, they talk about the assumption there is already 8,000 peacekeepers. Like we explained, there in the worst case over 100,000 peacekeepers will be needed in 2017. At that kind of situation, there are so many places which there are no peacekeepers. About plan, we will send 3,000 peacekeepers to this area, and we can save 1,000 civilian lives every year. So we should take this plan. The first attack point to AD2, no, because of financial difficulty, we can't build infrastructures. But firstly, each country shoulders the cost for peacekeeping operation, and after ending the PKO, United Nations will pay back the cost for operation. So even if now United Nations don't have a budget, self-defense force can build infrastructure. And also, present situation, most of PKO face financial difficulties, but all missions could achieve their purpose because each country shoulders the cost for missions, so no problem. The second attack point, building infrastructure will be destroyed because of conflict, but they talk about a situation, there is no PKO, there is no case infrastructure was destroyed during peacekeeping operation because according to United Nations, peacekeeping mission include protection of infrastructures. So after taking this plan, Japanese self-defense force both build infrastructure and both protect infrastructure. So infrastructure will not be destroyed. They say in dangerous area we can't make building infrastructure, but in conflict area, status quo, or even China can build infrastructure in conflict area. Like we explained, status quo, Japanese self-defense force have the best ability to build infrastructure. So after taking this plan, they can do it. Okay, this is unclear, so I will explain our argument. So road is most essential infrastructure of all because one road can send all of relief supply and all of material for construction. If we don't make road in South Sudan, 250,000 children will die of shortage of relief supplies according to UNICEF. So we should take this plans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Eddie. I'd like to make a defense speech. Our disadvantage is more victims in self-defense forces. First, they said that our evidence is unreliable because the death rate is decreasing in recent years, 0.08%. However, the 0.3% is an accurate estimation of the risk. The death rate is not a steady decline. For example, in 1993, the death rate was 0.4%. That's because the dangerous Somalia mission started. In 1994, the death rate fell to 0.2%, but in 1995 there was another mission in Bosnia and it returned to 0.4%. We cannot predict the future. We must also consider worst case scenarios. That's why we said 0.3%, which is the average of all missions in PKO history, both the safest and the most dangerous. They talked about that Japan have the inaccurate system. However, it is not true because according to the Toyo Keizai Online in 2015, there is no first aid kit treatment, so JSDA cannot cure illness. And second, they said that JSDA admit the risk, but it's not true because the situation will change after their plan. SDA member might recognize the risk of today's operation, as they said, but after their plan, they have to go to even conflict area. The risk will also change. SDA personnel cannot accept such a higher risk of operation. So by their plan, our disadvantage will seriously happen. And they said that JSDF is the strongest enough, but it's not true. If we focus on the military power, a ground force military power, it is low. According to the Global Firepower in 2014, Japanese ground equipment ranked around 30th position. It is lower than even developing countries such as Bangladesh and Pakistan, so our disadvantage will seriously happen. Next, I'd like to tell you our importance. we should not take the plan because after the plan, every year 10 will die and 1,200 JSDI will be injured and it affects family members forever such as mental, economical, and physical burden. They didn't at that point 1,200 injured, so this point will be remain. And next, our disadvantage is the mistaken ducks. First, they said the AD will overcome their advantage. AD will overcome a disadvantage. However, it is not true. I'd like to explain. After the plan, JSDA attacked local people mistakenly. Today in Africa, there were many PKO missions and 8,000 Japanese live in Africa. So by their plan, 8,000 Japanese will be killed or live with fear of the revenge. This is our disadvantage, so it will seriously happen. And second, they attacked our process of the mistaken attack. However, the mistaken attack surely happened. In a complicated situation, JSDA cannot distinguish who civilians are. That's why the other countries have more experience have the mistaken attack. And next, they attacked our Congo's cases. We have another example of the revenge attack. According to IPS in 2007, a Haiti peacekeeper killed over 30 civilians mistakenly. Then local people have the revenge feeling. Finally, the violence in the public broke out in Haiti. So revenge will surely happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My name is Takuya Baba. I would like to summarize this debate. I have two things to talk about with this debate. Firstly, about the practical consequence looking at 81, 82, and the DA1. And after all, I would like to talk about Japan's responsibility. But before that, let me explain their DA2, right? They're saying, firstly, the defense speaker started explaining about the revenge against Japanese, but this was not provided in the constructive speech. So this is completely new arguments. So no one should use this point. And at the point of constructive speech, they just explained 600 or so local citizens will be killed, even in the worst case. And this was the biggest number that they provided us. What this means, as we told you in our 81, we can save about 1,000 civilians' life, and this graph was calculated by average, right, including these kind of misshots. What this means, we can save more, so their DA2 never stands. Then let's look at the practical consequence. DA1, they talked about self-defense force will be damaged, right? But in the first place, what we have to see is the current rate, right? Because as we told you, the mortality rate is decreasing every year. They were talking about some kind of dangerous missions, but this kind of death rate is actually decreasing constantly. What this means, technological development or other kinds of things will making these kind of mortality rates much lower. What this means is that what we can rely is only the most latest data. And if we use those kind of things, we can say only one death every 2 years in the DA1, right? So we can say their DA1 is extremely weak. Then our 81. As we told you, in Ukraine about 20,000 civilians are dying every year, but no peacekeepers are there. And we have clearly explained to you that how these kind of self-defense forces will have enough capacity to save about 1,000 civilians' life every year if we take this proposal, because there's severe shortage of those kind of troops. For example, like 45,000 lack only in Africa, and it will be lack in 2017. So we can see the possibility is extremely high. Then about 82, we talked about maintenance of infrastructure. As we have told you, even in Ukraine, 200,000 civilians are suffering because of lack of infrastructure, like road or so on. But Japan is now refusing those kind of requests to maintenance infrastructure, ladies and gentlemen. Also in 81, Japan is refusing these kind of requests. What we can see is that these kind of restrictions are going to kill many civilians that United Nations are saying that you should help. Ladies and gentlemen, we think this is really problematic. And overall, just to look at the practical consequence, only one death every 2 years, and we can save more civilians compared with that. That's the reason why, in the practical consequence, we win. And secondly, the responsibility for Japan. Well, no one, moreover, self-defense force death will never be a reason to deny this motion. It is really easy because, as we told you, it is adopting a volunteer system. So at that point, self-defense force are going to go to PKO because they want to save civilians. At that point, what's the government's responsibility? Is to allow self-defense force to go to those kind of areas based on their will to protect those kind of civilians, right? At this point, to maximize self-defense force, what the government has to do is not to protect them, but allow them to protect more civilians. Then, ladies and gentlemen, lastly, the responsibility. No one can choose where to live, and those kind of children who accidentally got birth in those kind of conflict area are going to be killed just because they were born out there. They have to live in a situation that there are no clothes, no water, no food, right? And they're going to be killed at last because of the unjust bullet. We think this situation is really unjustful, and because that's the reason why, as a peaceful nation, Japan, we have to take this plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson and Judge. My name is Yuna. And first, every country has its own style of contribution. For Japan, the military style of PKO is not suitable because it makes many more victims, which is more clear and bigger impact. Of course, as. So also this plan is not necessary. Next, for the 81, save world lives. And first, for the necessity, they said the number of people is necessary. So, considering future 50 countries like China, India, which has stronger weapon than 30s Japan, will send 40,000 peacekeepers to. So there is no necessity of Japan. And first, for the probability, they said Japan can save people in unknown mission because their defense was broken. And also, they gave us Ukraine case, but those case was we checked the evidence, but the Putin is not accepted action. So there is a meaning, and also if there are already 8,000 troops, and they said we need 100,000 troops in the future, but it is a case when the situation gets worse, and if there are already 8,000 troops, normal decrease of that will happen. Also, 40,000 will be sent, so 3,000 Japanese is just surplus. They cannot save people, and for their value, finally their impact become unclear, so their value is almost zero. So their D81 is under our DA1. Our DA1 will overcome than theirs, and their D82 is infrastructure. First, for their probability, they said Japan can make roads, but they support us. Even China, other country can make roads. So there is no necessity of Japan, and also budget is in red, and they said that now there is no problem, but expand is impossible. So probability is really weak. Next, for the value, they didn't prove how many people Japan can save in dangerous area, and also they only focused on South Sudan, but their definition was not South Sudan, so their value is no unique, so their 82 is weak. And next, check our DAs. For our probability, as we proved, 30th Japanese military is poor, so every year, and also as we said, average is important, so every year 10 SDF will die and 1,300 will be armed injured. So our persistence, and for our value, at least 1,300 armed injured damage is remain because they will lose arms and legs due to poor equipment. They will become disabled. So that is really serious for not only those people but also family. So our impact will overcome their 80s unclear impact. Next, our DA2 is mistaken attack. First, for our probability, how at least the risk JSDF may connect mistaken attack is remain because we show the evidence, and also Japan doesn't have real battlefield experience to judge citizens, so they will connect revenge. It's not late argument, my construct speaker said. And for our value, our impact serious because the target will be at Japanese people, and 8,000 Japanese residents in Africa surely fear their lives because of revenge. This is more serious than theirs. Thank you.
Thank you. The debate is over now.
Good afternoon, friends! Did you enjoy the final round? In my case, it's not just enjoying. I was I'm still searching for the word. Probably awestruck will be probably the best word I can say. I probably think that I will never be debaters like them. Well, I know the importance of debating, and I know how training of debating kind of improves the students. But even if I imagine that I apply the training to myself, I will never be the level of the affirmative Utsunomiya and the negative Ichiritsu Urawa. So please give them, once again, yeah. Well, I probably would like to ask like 3 more applause, but we are running out of time. So, well, before going into the comments, thank you very much for all of you for making such a wonderful tournament as being successful. You all are in my sense, a winner. In your own sense, you may not have won the rounds or votes, but obviously, I hope you have made new friends, and you have probably made lifetime teammates, friends, and that will probably be a treasure that will benefit you for your life. And I'm pretty sure of that because I was a high school debater myself, and that changed my life. And some of the things that changed my life also was the friends I met in Gifu. So, yeah, there's an old friend sitting over there. And not only her, but quite a lot of encounters I did in Gifu, which was so accidental mostly, changed my life the second time. And I'd like to thank you, all the teachers in Gifu, for this wonderful tournament that have continued for 10 years. Without Gifu, we couldn't have made it so far. Thank you very much. So let's go to the issues. What was so impossibly great about this final round was probably the attack speeches and the question and answers, especially the question and answers. I mean, right after the constructive speeches, the questions were kind of targeted against opponents' evidence. And it was straight on. For example, I can give you, for example, the affirmative argue that Japanese infrastructure technology is so high, and the highest in the world maybe. But the negative asked that, does this evidence talk about the situation that the affirmative themselves are talking about, like the danger situation? Well, it is one thing to say that Japan can make good roads, and Japan can make good roads under terrorist attacks. So you should always ask the assumptions of the piece of evidence that was quoted by the opponents. Obviously, that was not the only case. The negative quoted in their disadvantage too about revenge to miskillings done by peacekeepers. And the affirmative asked that, is this number the worst case? Is this number like the average case? This is very good questioning in terms of evaluating the opponent's evidence. If they cannot answer straight back, the judge has the kind of impression that this might be the worst case, or the team quoting may not have a bigger picture. So this questioning of assumptions and questioning of relating to evaluations, those things you must copy, right? To question the opponent's evidence is most essential because debate is about understanding other opinion. What is so great about this debate activity is that you do not shout at each other. You first have to understand each other and then refute. And more deeply you understand, more the debate will get better and better. Okay? So please consider that. Do not understand the opponents in a broad stroke. You should get into the details. And that's what you should be doing, and that's what probably the people in the diet should be doing. Okay? So, obviously, the question and answers were not the only good points of the final round. The attack speech. I believe that there were some sighs among the judges when the negative attack speaker finished his speech. I was kind of dumbstruck. He was so good, probably one of the best in the history of this tournament. And it was like completely kind of destroying the basis of the opponents. But the amazing thing in this debate round is the defense speaker from the opponent's side came back. So actually, it was not just the attack speakers, but the defense speakers were so good. So in this round, all of the issues remained till the end. It was not totally killed. It was weakened by the attack speeches, and especially the attack speeches concerning, again, the contents of the opponent's evidence. Obviously, there was a very great crash concerning the mortality rate of peacekeepers. Negative argued 0.3 a year, and the affirmative argued 0.08 in total. Maybe it's just 0.0025, excluding some of the accidents. And obviously, most of the debates, if you were not so experienced, ends right there. Evidence are quoted from both sides and not resolved. But in this debate, the situation was totally different. They came up with reasons comparing which evidence should be credible in this situation. The negative argued that it might be true that in recent situation, the mortality rate is low. But is that really the figure you should believe? I checked the evidence, and the affirmative was quoting from 2015 and 2015 only. The negative argued that we should see the whole picture by seeing the whole history, and because there will be ups and lows, and you cannot just say the recent year is safe. You should be preparing for the worst. So that kind of evidence evaluations were totally all striking for me in this debate. So as a result, advantage one was attacked by the opponents, and advantage one started very well, talking that, for example, in Ukraine and in Sudan, civilians are still attacked, so peacekeepers are necessary. And if we send in 3,000 peacekeepers, according to the Florida University study, we can save like annually 1,000 civilians. So the affirmative kept on saying the number of 1,000. But the negative team attacked the assumption of the evidence of this Florida study. They said that their calculation is that if you increase from 0 to 3,000, the number will drop from 1,000 to something. So 1,000 is the estimate. But they argue that in most of the missions, there are at least like 8,000 people already. So if we add 3,000, will that make 1,000 decrease? Obviously, the affirmative came back by saying that the total number in the world is like 100,000 people missing. Negative argued that 40,000 will be provided by China, India, and other nations, so Japan doesn't have to do it. But obviously, the clear proof burden is on the affirmative, so the negative attack showing that the application of the evidence should be from here, not from 0, is a valid attack. And that was taken by most of the judges. So most of the judges did not take the face value of 1,000 civilians a year. And about advantage 2, about infrastructure. That was a good argument too. In the beginning, talking about the lack of roads in South Sudan, and obviously that will affect like quite a lot of children's life, and that will be true. But the question which should be answered is, will the additional 3,000 Japanese peacekeepers solve the problem of roads? And considering the attacks from the negative team, yes, we agree that there is a danger situation in South Sudan, and there is regulation toward the Japanese peacekeepers in the current situation that prohibits us from going there. But will that help the roads? It was still unclear. The affirmative could not provide enough concrete evidence showing that there will be a better situation with these 3,000 troops. So advantage 2 was probably considered the weakest in most of the judges. And about disadvantage 1, this was severely attacked by the affirmative team, so it got really weak. And considering that the number was attacked, some of the judges consider that this number is not credible. But most of the judges took the 0.3 card, because the negative did a better job of saying the reason why the evidence is applicable to evaluate the mortality rate, and that is the average. And we agree to that. So the mortality rate, like 0.3%, that means a 10 fatality a year, will probably be the situation in disadvantaged 1. So what is the impact of this? Affirmative did a good job attacking that the self-defense members will be volunteering to go. They will be passing the test. So this number 10, the impact itself is not so well explained by the negative thing. One suggestion from one of the judges, this is Professor Matsumoto actually, but is a very precious suggestion. We should be presenting like evaluative principles in the early stage of debates. I mean, in the summary speech, for example, the negative speaker and the affirmative speaker both argue that Japan has a responsibility, or we should save life, and which is important. But these should be done in the constructive speech. Affirmative actually did that. So in that sense, affirmative was really good in the advantage 1. But negative probably should have done that too in the disadvantage 1 too. So this remained, but the impact was not so big. So the crucial thing is disadvantage 2. The disadvantage 2 talks about the occurrence of missed shots by the Japanese self-defense force. And in this issue, there was one argument by the affirmative team that negative defense speaker was speaking new things. Some of the things, for example, Japanese, there are 8,000 Japanese in Africa and they will be killed. This might be an overreach, but I think most of the issues refuted in the defense speech was not new. So considering that, there is some risk of the self-defense force uniquely because Japan does not have experience distinguishing civilians or terrorists. So this disadvantage to at least remains. And obviously, the affirmative defense speaker was not attacking the assumption that there will be some missed shots and revenges. The affirmative summary and defense kept on arguing that there will be 1,000 people saved by the affirmative plan. So considering the attacks from the affirmative and considering the attacks from the negative, what remained was disadvantage 2 mainly versus advantage 1. And which was larger? I have to ask Minamo-chan, obviously. I asked like 4 years ago, and I will ask again. What was the result of the debate? I am your father? No, you don't have evidence to that. Sorry. Well, okay. Let's go back. Okay. The result is 4 judges thought that the advantage 1 was severely killed and disadvantage 2 was enough to vote for Ichiritsu Ura. Congratulations both teams for a wonderful debate.